Hey friends, and welcome back. It's Wednesday here at Energy Express. Today, boy, do we have some surprises in store for you. The first one, well, the best way of putting it is timber! We're gonna head down and visit our friend Ben at a logging site.
Hi, I'm Ben Spong. I'm the Forest Operations Extension Specialist with WVU Extension. I'm here with Chad Nicholson of Nicholson Logging in Barber County, looking at a new forest operation that he's just getting started on, and we're going to talk a little bit about logging in West Virginia. Chad, do you want to introduce yourself and your company?
Chad Nicholson, co-owner of Nicholson Logging with my dad, Art Nicholson. We're out of Morgantown, West Virginia. I'm a 5th generation logger. My dad's 4th generation. Something we've always done.
So Chad, you've been working in the woods here for a number of years, but how did you get started in logging?
When I was growing up, I always worked on my grandpa's sawmill, which my dad worked on, my brother worked on, my grandpa owned it. His dad was a logger, and so it just kind of, they always say once you get sawdust in your veins, it never comes out. Okay. But I actually went to WVU for a graphic design degree, which I got. Did that for a while, but I like being out in the wilderness. I like cutting trees, and I like to say I got the best office in the world.
And here we're on a brand new site. You're just moving into this location, and so you're getting a number of things set up on this property to remove some of the trees. So can you describe what a select cut is?
Certain size diameter trees is what you take, and you leave all the young growth so the forest will regrow itself, and then take the bigger stuff out, open the canopy up a little bit so the little trees can grow more.
Nice. So this is very different than sort of a clear cut where we remove all the trees from it. So when you come back out here in maybe a year or even 2 years, you will almost not even know that a timber harvest had occurred on this location.
You could possibly cut this in another 15, 20 years again.
And so you're going to come in and with skidders and different felling machines, and you'll have loaders and all sorts of different equipment out here. And those are sort of a really important part of your operation, right?
Yep. So we have a feller buncher that actually cuts the trees. Feller buncher will cut a tree, pick it up, and you can place it wherever you want, so you do minimal damage to the forest. And you kind of map your roads out so they're not too steep, stay away from water, kind of keep the forest looking as good as you can.
When we're out in the forest, typically we need to make sure that we're being safe and that all of your employees are being safe. Can you talk about some of the personal protective equipment that you're required to wear?
You run the chainsaw, you have to have these chaps on their Kevlar, so if your saw hits it, it binds the chain off and automatically stops.
Wow.
And steel toe boots, so you don't cut through your toes or smash your toes. Mm-hmm. Always wear something bright orange or like a reflective vest.
Yeah.
And then your hard hat. You got your hearing protection, your eye protection. And then even when you're running the machine, you wear a hard hat, safety for your ears, because the machinery is loud, so you don't want to hurt your hearing.
Yeah.
And then you just got to kind of be aware of where everybody in your crew's at.
Yeah.
So before you fell a tree, you got to make sure that no one's close enough where your tree's going. So you got to kind of have a nice area where everyone's away.
Yeah.
So nobody gets injured.
I know that with all of the laws and regulations that we have in West Virginia, there's a number of things you have to do in order to make sure that you're having as little of impact on the site as you can, making sure you're protecting the soil, protecting the water, and making sure that the forest grows back as nice and as quickly as possible. We're about ready to end our visit here to the forest, and we wanted to thank you, Chad, and your organization for having us out on your site. We'd also like to thank Bill Robinson, who had us out on his site on another day and helped show us some of the equipment on his operation. And really, I think you're getting all set for a busy summer of activities out here. I hope you have a great summer, and I hope everybody watching has a great summer as well.
And from logging to rockets, let's go visit our friends Jen and Ben and make a straw rocket.
For the straw rocket activity, you're going to need the following materials: popsicle sticks, straws, brass fasteners, rubber bands, eraser heads, tape, scissors, and index cards are another form of thick cardstock. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna start by taking one of our straws, yes, and we're going to place an eraser head on the end. This is needed not only because it's a little bit pointy to help the direction of the arrow or the rocket, but it's also a little bit of weight and it's a little bit softer, so if it hits something, it doesn't hurt it.
And when you pick your straw, you want a thick straw so that the eraser can fit around it.
Yes, so thicker straws like you might get at a restaurant are the better ones to use here. Okay, so we also need something, this is going to be a straw rocket. So we're gonna use a rubber band as our source of energy. We need a little hook for the rocket to hook onto for that. So here, I'm gonna give you a pair of scissors. That's what we're gonna use the brass fastener for. So to make this a nice little hook, we take it, you look here, and we're just gonna bend it down slightly like this. So now it makes a nice little hook. Now that we've got our hook, we're going to tape it to the side of our rocket just below where the eraser head sits. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky to hold the brass fastener in place and also tape it. So you might need a little bit of help with this one, but I find sometimes if I hold it at the very tip and press down firmly, see how they look. That's pretty good. All right, so if this is a rocket, so we have our rocket body, right? We have the nose of our rocket. What are we missing that all rockets have, or at least most rockets have that you've ever seen?
Usually like some sort of fins.
Fins, yes. So fins aren't quite like plain wings. Fins don't create lift, but they help a rocket go in a particular direction. So we're gonna add fins to our rocket to help it keep going in its the proper direction. So what color would you like to use? Yellow? Okay, I'll use green. All right, so to create fins, most fins that you've probably seen are usually in a triangle shape, and I find it's nice to take my index card and fold it in half until I feel I've gotten to the size that I want for my fin. So I'm gonna fold it in half and then cut it. A pair of scissors for you. So that gives me 2 pieces. I think that size of a fin is appropriate for the size of my rocket.
Probably a little big.
Probably a little big, yeah. So let's try folding it again. Now that's not too bad, but I think I'm gonna go a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna take half of my stack and fold it one more time. Cut that in half. All right, so once you get to the size that you want, just like Ben did there, a nice way to make an easy triangle is to go corner to corner. All right, and that helped me create 4 equal triangles that I could use for fins on my rocket. I think for my rocket, I'm going to use 3 fins. How many rockets are you going to use for yours?
I think I'm going to use 3 fins as well.
3 fins also, yeah. We recommend anywhere between 2 and 4 fins. Remember, the more you add, the heavier that it gets, but you want at least 2 to keep it balanced. All right, so there's a trick to taping your fin to the side of your rocket. Now, first of all, before you tape it there, it's important, one of the ways that we're going to use this straw is we're going to have a special launching stick, and the rubber band hooks like this, and we pull it back to shoot. So we wanna make sure we leave a little bit of room for our fingers to pull back. So we don't wanna put our fins on the very, very end of the straw. Okay, the second part where it gets a little tricky is putting tape on something that's flat against another thing that is round. So try to make yourself a piece of tape that is just a little bit longer than the fin itself. Probably gone a little too long here. And I'm gonna create it such that it sort of overlaps over half of it. So I have about half the tape on my fin and the other half sticking out. So I'm going to take that then, again, leaving some room at the end of my straw so that I can place my fingers, and I'm just going to push it back like that. Excellent, there we go. And any of this excess that I have at the top, I can just fold down over like this. Make it nice and tight. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of that fin. Just need it a little bit longer than the fin itself. All right, one fin down, 2 more fins to go. I'm gonna use the same process for the other 2. So here I need to start thinking about the positioning of my fins. I'm gonna do 3, and it's a pretty good idea to keep those fins symmetrical, although you can test out how symmetry of your fins affects its flight. That would be a great test. So I'm going to give a little bit of space here and then wrap this around. All right, so now I have 2 of 3 fins, and my last one I want somewhere up here at the very top. Usually the placement of your last fin is the most important, so you can balance out the positioning of all of them together. All right, let's check out the positioning of our fins before we get to the next step. Looks good. It's nice and symmetrical. I like the size there. That's pretty neat. And we have enough room in the back to pinch it. All right. So we have our rocket body, which is the straw, our rocket nose, which is the eraser, and our fins we just created. We need one other thing to make this project complete.
Oh, the rubber band or the slingshot?
The slingshot, right, the launcher. So we're gonna create a launcher that actually gives this rocket its motion. That's a really important part of this project. So to do that, we're gonna each need a popsicle stick. So can you hand me a popsicle stick? And we're gonna need a rubber band. For this project, it's better to use longer rubber bands. So we've got a fairly standard size here, but if you have one that's even bigger, that's even better. So nice long rubber bands. And to fasten that, we're just going to use some masking tape. So this is pretty easy, but there is something we wanna watch out for as we're creating.
This is better if we use it.
Oh, that's a good idea. Well, maybe I'll do that for my second piece. So go ahead and set it down on the table. And we want to stick the stick about halfway in the piece that we've cut off there, nice and parallel with it. And then we're going to place the rubber band just above the popsicle stick. Okay, just let me see. Perfect. Now you're going to pull the tape down over top of the rubber band and the popsicle stick. All right, now, however, we're gonna be pulling back on this as we use our launcher. So we should add a couple more pieces of masking tape so that it doesn't rip through. So for that, just repeat the process that we did before over top of our original piece of masking tape. When we shoot our rockets, we hold up our launchers and grab on to the rubber band, hooking onto our fastener, just like that. Yeah, and then we pull back, but what's important before we ever shoot our rockets?
Make sure no one's in the way.
We make sure no one's in the way, or that we're not gonna hit anything that we could break, right? So we don't wanna hit people or things.
So primarily we do it outside.
Right, this is an outside activity. You're absolutely right. Rubber bands are elastic. To say that something is elastic or has elasticity means that it returns to its original shape after being subjected to strain. Now, most solids have a little bit of elasticity, but they also have what is known as an elastic limit. So if I pull on my rubber bands too hard and I surpass the elastic limit, it'll break. When I pull back on my rubber band, I'm storing a lot of energy in it. We call this stored energy potential energy, When I let go, that potential energy is converted into motion. The energy of motion is also known as kinetic energy. In our straw rockets, we use a rubber band on our launcher. We pull back, connecting our rubber band to the brass hook. And at this point, I have high potential energy. I have energy stored in the rubber band. As I let go, the elasticity of the rubber band will return it to its original shape. It'll also take the rocket with it, causing the rocket to continue to fly through the air. Let's look at that for a second. Potential energy, kinetic energy. Again, we've had our elasticity here. Stretched shape, original shape, that gives it that energy to fly.
After launching those rockets, it's always fun to go for a nature walk. Let's go to Jackson's Mill and do just that.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Jackson's Mill. Let's go for a nature walk today. Okay, our first tree that we're going to stop and talk about is this tiny little American beech. When you find an American beech, you can tell which type of beech it is by the edges of the leaf. So each vein, if you look here on the back, each vein on the back of the leaf comes to a point. So I have these veins and it comes to a point right there. So this is the American beech. Each vein comes to this point. We'll find an iron beech later, and we'll talk about the differences in the edge point. As we stand here, you can see that most of these trees are pretty large and they don't have a lot of leaf cover going up the trunks. And the trunks of these trees are very long and straight, and they go right up to the top of the canopy where all of the leaves are. That happens because as trees grow up together, trees that need sunlight will go straight up to the top, and they'll put all of their energy into growing their leaves and budding at the top where they can get to the sunlight. So all of this down here is shaded, so the leaves aren't going to grow where they can't find the sunlight. This is another American beech. It's much older, so it's much larger, but it still has this very flat bark all the way up the trunk, as most beeches have. This is a teeny tiny tulip poplar. So we have lots of poplars in these woods, and so whenever they shed their seeds, some of them will catch and start growing like this. This is maybe just a year old. So the tulip poplar leaves are super distinct because they have a split top right here. So they don't come to a point in the middle, they actually come to 2 points on either side. So sycamore leaves will look really similar to these, except where the tulip poplar have very rounded edges. Sycamore leaves will look almost like a maple, but they'll be split right there in the middle like the tulip poplar. This is another type of beech. This is an iron beech, which some people will call musclewood. Whenever they talk about musclewood, the reason that they call it that is because it has these edges and it looks like a flexed muscle, like a flexed forearm or something like that. Unfortunately, these trees, just like American beeches, are often carved on like this. And we don't want to do that because whenever you carve and you make scars on trees like this, it actually opens them up to be much more susceptible to disease. So you want to be able to let them have their natural bark edges so that they can protect themselves. whenever we're looking at the Iron Beech leaves, remember I said that the American Beech comes to one point at the edges? The Iron Beech, instead of just coming to one point at the end of a vein, comes to a serrated edge like this. So it looks like more of a saw blade. The leaf itself is the same shape as the American Beech, but the Iron Beech has those serrated saw blade edges. This is a full-grown adult tulip poplar. So the little tiny tulip poplar that we looked at earlier will eventually, hopefully, grow into this. While you can't easily see the leaves at the top, you can still tell that it's a tulip poplar because this bark has long ridges like this. So they're long, deep ridges. It almost looks like a one long mountain range going all the way up the tree.
And next up, we're gonna eat some butterflies. No, we're not really gonna eat butterflies, but our friend Andy is gonna show us how to make some human snacks that look like butterflies. Take it away, Andy.
Hello everyone, I'm Andi Hoover and I'm the Family Community Development Extension Agent here in Greenbrier County. Our food demos for today are making healthy snacks that look like butterflies. I like to call these our butterfly bites. So, what you're going to need for this food demo are blueberries, mandarin oranges, some type of flavored yogurt, and some apples. Okay, the apple is going to be the foundation of our snack, sort of like a cookie, I guess, but a lot more healthy. So you're going to take your apple and you're just going to cut it in rounds. This round is going to become the bottom of your snack. Once you get in the center of the apple, you're going to notice there's seeds. You're going to want to cut those out. They're not fun to eat. But you're going to take your apple. You're going to put a little yogurt on it. I'm using vanilla yogurt for mine, but you can use any kind that you like. And this yogurt is going to help for our fruit to stick. So at this point, we use our blueberries as the body of our butterfly. Blueberries are really nutritious for us. They give us lots of antioxidants that we need. We have our oranges that are full of vitamin C, and they become our wings. So we have a beautiful little cookie, crunchy apple, our yogurt, our mandarin oranges, and our blueberries. We've had our fruits, which are your blueberries and your oranges and your apples, full of fiber, all of the vitamins we need, and fruits are sweet. So if we can use them as a dessert instead of some of the things that are bad for us, this is a much healthier snack. Now we're going to move on to our vegetables. And we have two different ones we're going to use for vegetables. The first one, a lot of people know this as ants on a log. You take your celery, peanut butter or cream cheese if you have a peanut allergy. You're going to take your peanut butter and put it down in the middle of the celery. Celery is very healthy for us. Although it's full of water, it's also full of vitamin K, which is very important for our bodies. You can put raisins on here if you want to. You don't have to, but it does just sort of help make a little bit of a body of a butterfly. And then we're going to put just a little extra peanut butter here on the sides for our wings. And we're using carrots, baby carrots, for our wings. So you're going to take your baby carrot, cut it in half, and the little bump sides become your wings. If I can get this to stand up for you, it makes a cute little butterfly. The next healthy snack we're going to make is very simple, but this is one that you can make as a hot snack. It could be a side dish for dinner, but it might help kids to eat broccoli and carrots a little more. So we're going to take a broccoli floret and we're going to cut it into small florets. Okay, very simple, just small florets. Lay those side by side and we're going to stick a baby carrot right in the middle. That makes our butterfly. If you put olive oil on it, stick it in the oven and roast it for about 15-20 minutes, it makes a great snack. You can also steam it and build it that way with steamed vegetables as well. So there's a healthy snack with using our broccoli and our carrots. The last thing we're going to do is not necessarily a food demo, but it is a creative way to make a snack bag look like a butterfly. It'll be great for a lunchbox surprise, something fun for kids to do. So you're going to take a sandwich bag, any resealable bag, and some of your favorite snacks. I've got grapes and blueberries in mine. So you can add to your bag, just don't make it really full because we're going to have to pinch it up in the middle. So we're going to make it about halfway full. You're going to seal it up, getting the air out, and then find your middle. You're going to scrunch this together into two sides, and you're going to take a clothespin, just a simple clothespin. You can decorate this with your kids, you can paint them, you can do anything you'd like to do with those to make them cute, and then you're just going to clip it onto your baggie so that you have a cute little butterfly bag. Easy to stick into a lunchbox or just a cooler for a fun little...
Well, like a butterfly, it's time for us to fly off today. We're glad you joined us for another day of Energy Express. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.